Welcome back to another episode of Harmonious at Lunch, the show that fuels your business success. I'm Brandon Gano, your host and guide through the world of harmonious business growth. Today, we're unlocking powerful strategies with industry experts to help your business thrive. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or executive, you are in the right place. Join me and our incredible guests today on the journey to clarity, growth, and success. It is time to revolutionize your approach to business. Let's dive in with another episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Welcome back into some more bite-sized business advice. And today's episode will for sure shake up your brain a little bit and get you thinking about growing your business in a little bit different way, probably a lot of bit different way. We'll see where we go with this. But the topic today is talking about adding zeros to your business. Now, if you're doing $100 a year in revenue, it's going to be pretty easy to add a zero. But if you're doing 7, 8, 9 figures, it gets a little bit trickier. But today's guest is going to deliver on how to do that and do it the right way. So Brad Smith, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here. Thank you, Brandon.
So we're adding zeros, Brad. That's a big undertaking to do, especially when you already have 6 of them in your revenue. Right. Talk to me about what sort of an impact are we talking about making here that you've done with your clients?
So I want people to think about where their business is. Let's say you're at 5 million a year or 50, doesn't matter. And if you want to add a zero, you have to at least double your business growth rate and think about what it takes to do that. That's the first step. Where do you have to change in your business? What processes have to be changed? And behind that, what mindsets do you have and your organization have that need to change? So I work with my clients. I ask them, where are they at? And they lay out the full scope. And I ask them what bugs them and what's frustrating them. And we go through that list. And then I ask them to do a little bit deeper work. I send them what I call a values list. And they list out what their values are. And then I ask them why they're in their business. If your reason for being in your business is money, I always give my clients back like, that's not a driver. It might be initially, but what's underneath that is desperation. Desperation can't be a business growth energy, right? And so you have to go through that process of why am I doing what I'm doing? Why I do what I do for my clients is, I used to say, I live on epiphany juice. When I talk to someone, I pretty much know the first 1 or 2 epiphanies they have to reach, mindset shifts, if you would, they have to reach before they can open up their business and grow it significantly faster. And that's what I mean by adding a zero. So if you're going to do that, you look at what are the mindsets, and when I get them there, I lead them to that. And then when they have the epiphany and go, oh, I didn't understand that before. Now, right? Now I can do this differently. Once you have an epiphany, and that's one of those intuitive mind bursts that you have, everything lines up, it makes complete sense, and you don't need outside verification. It all lines up and makes sense and adds into your view of the world. And those epiphanies are what I'm after with my clients so that they can add a better relationship with their potential clients and their current clients so that they wind up adding a zero.
I love it. I want to go back to something you said earlier, because I think that's where I've met a lot of people who they run through this equation in their head and they get immediately scared, and that's why their business stays stuck. So you said to add a zero, you have to double your growth rate. So most people in early stage of their business, smaller size businesses, will say sub 7 figures, maybe even into the early 7-figure stage. They think what that means, what you just said, is I need to work twice as hard or twice as many hours. And they get stuck in this trap because the math equation doesn't work out in their head. Like, I'm already working 60 hours a week. How could I do 120? Is that a common roadblock and mindset shift that you run into people thinking?
Fears? Yeah. It's like, I can't do that. Well, of course you can't. So how you get more time, and my goal is always to give my clients more time in their life, right? How do you do that? You can't do everything. So you have to work smarter, right? And then you have to learn how to delegate. And then that gets into hiring. And hiring right now is a tough thing for most people. Um, First, look at what you're doing. So I'll give you an exercise that I give all my clients almost the first day. What have you got on your plate that you have no business doing? Write all those things down. Write out how much time goes into those things, and then figure out how you're going to hire someone and train them so that they do it better than you do. No one's the most perfect person in the world for all the things they need to do in their business. Otherwise, they'll just stay stuck. So to get unstuck, you have to delegate. Delegate, you have to hire and train. And then you have to watch your money. How fast can you grow, right? So you've got this whole bandwidth of things that you have to track. Not that many, though, 4 or 5. Money, market, people, training, and then the functions. So I have a list of things. I want people to write this down. What are the tasks? What are the results that need to be achieved? That's number one list. Second list is what are the tasks that need to be done to achieve the results? Third, which is where most people start for hiring, what are the skills they need in order to do the tasks efficiently and effectively, right? And then the fourth one is, the big one is, what is the character of a person who easily does that, easily does those tasks, easily learns those skills? If you've got someone that's very detail oriented, they're going to make a great bookkeeper, right? So the question in interviewing for a bookkeeper is, do you lose socks in the laundry?
Yeah, the laundry machine eats them, not me though.
Right. No, right? So over probably a 40-year span, I've only lost 4 pair of socks. 4. So I want you to understand, do I want to be a bookkeeper? No, not at all. Am I good at it? Yeah, right. So in order to get what you want, you have to think about what that person is automatically capable of. Person that's going to be a good receptionist is almost never going to be a good bookkeeper. Those different things. Someone who's going to be a good operations person isn't necessarily going to be a good visionary. There's the book Rocket Fuel. Go read it, take the test, see which you are, right? And track yourself. I have a neighbor, he's good at operations. He said, I have never started a business because I'm not a good visionary. Yes, he is, but he thinks he's better at operations. So there we go.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, and you have to. That's where I think where a lot of business owners get stuck too, because they want to do all the things because that's what's gotten them to here. Because you need to in the beginning. I mean, when you're starting your business, there are things that just have to be done. You don't have enough cash flow, enough profit to delegate out in the very immediate beginning, but then they keep their sticky fingers on things, and it starts to add up over time. So, I love what you're saying here. I'm curious to go back to those epiphanies. Um, when you're that sounds like it's kind of the first step when you're working with people is understanding where they are, breaking them free of the mindset that's holding them where they are. Where do you go from there? Is it what you just said with the hiring list, or is it something else?
Well, first is the plate exercise. And out of the plate exercise comes all the list of things they need to let go of, right?
Mhm.
That builds out the organizational structure. If you keep doing that, I have had clients do their executive team go through that exercise, and then they figure out how they're going to grow the company to what has to happen. So organizational structure, organizational effectiveness, all of those things you have to listen to. So underneath all of that, every human, think of it this way. Can you get outside yourself? Almost nobody can easily. So if you think of yourself as living in this incestuous bubble with all your ideas, right? Then in order to grow yourself out of that, you need someone to come in and say, well, what about this over here? Oh, I forgot about that, right? Oh, what about this? So my whole purpose is to look at the whole span of field of where they're operating and ask them, what are the things they're missing? There's a thing called the Johari window, Johri window, and that means that there's things that everybody else knows. There's things that you know that nobody else knows. That's your private sector. There's things that everybody else knows that you don't know. That's your blind spot. And then there's the fourth window, which is nobody knows anything about that. That's completely unknown. My whole goal with my life is to learn as much as I can and build my awareness so that I make my unknown as small as possible.
Is that are you talking about, the conversation of jack of all trades, master of none, or is this just about awareness of those things so that you can plan and run your business effectively?
Just awareness and willingness to change.
Hmm.
Gotta have both, right? Well, I like that particular characteristic about me, but I don't like this one. Make a list of all the things you don't like about yourself.
It sounds like a potentially depressing exercise.
No, it's exciting. To me, it's exciting. It's like,
So
oh,
what do you do with them though? That's it. It is an interesting exercise unless you come at it with the wrong mindset and you want to be depressed. But what do you do with those things once you have that list?
I build out a plan every year. So I started my business in 96. 1999, I woke up one day somewhere in October and realized, oh, yeah, Brad, you got to get more clients because I had a few, right? And how are you going to do that, Brad? Well, first question I asked was, okay, you need more clients. Do you want to do this or do you want to go get a job for someone else with someone else? That took about 10 seconds. No, I don't want to work for anybody else. I want to work for myself and I love what I do. So I went to the library, checked out a list, then 8 books on selling, built out my cold calling process. And then one afternoon, I was calling people, and 5 people in a row just hammered me to death. And after the last one, and the guy just completely shredded me. And I didn't thank him for it then, but I did later. Yeah, I woke up, I realized my limitation was I was terrified of people. And what I realized was every person that I called, I was making them responsible for my self worth. They didn't even know me. Did I give that to my parents? No, I didn't even, at 40, whatever it was, 9, I didn't even give that to my parents anymore. And then I decided, okay, if I'm only offering them an opportunity and it's not an opportunity to tell me what I'm worth, my results changed from 40%. All I was doing was calling and saying, can I mail you a brochure? Because that's when we had that still, right? So my results went from 4 out of 10 saying yes to the brochure, and probably 4 out of 10 shredding me, to 8 out of 10 saying in a week, 8 out of 10 saying yes to the brochure, and 1 out of 10 saying yes to free coaching just as a test.
Hmm.
So that's why I still offer everyone that signs up on my website to talk to me, they get an hour of coaching.
I'll go ahead and toss that on the screen here since you mentioned it. And it's down in the show notes below. You can go click on over to Brad's website. But that's interesting. What was the mindset shift? Was it a decision, or was there more questioning around why you were giving your self-worth away?
Um, well, we're trained into that as children, toddlers,
Mhm.
right? And then after that, I realized we make 3 decisions right after we're born. 2 of them, actually. First one is if I'm 22 inches long, I'm not capable. And that's the foundation decision. I'm not capable. If I'm not capable, then I can't be the second one. I can't be responsible. So I'm not capable. I'm not responsible. The third one is I have no worth. I have no value. Right. And those 3 operate in almost everybody I've ever met until they wake up and they go back into the second decision and say, I can be responsible. I choose to be responsible. So if I choose to be responsible, then I can learn capability. And out of that, then infer that I have value. And that cycle is what everybody is in this planet learning how to do. I have self worth because I treat people well, I treat myself well, and I learn capability constantly. There's a high
So no, those are I'm trying to digest it at the same time because I'm like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Um, But when you're working with these, you said between 5 million and 50 million, it doesn't matter. These business owners, they're you're probably just working on some variation of that, right? Like how do those three things show up for people at these different levels? What are some real life examples of limiting beliefs that they may have?
Let's put it this way. In myself, I woke up maybe about 4 years ago and said, Brad, you're making all these people millionaires. And I am, right? Making them millionaires where they didn't have that scope before. And why aren't you?
It's a
Right?
tough question to ask yourself.
Turn the way. So if you're stuck at a revenue point in your business and your personal income is stuck at a certain point, sit down, have a really hard look at yourself and say, why am I limiting myself to this? And go into your self worth, how you got to that point, all your whole history, why you got that way. And then understand you're not committed deeply enough to adding a zero and the purpose of that extra zero or two or three. What's the purpose of it? What's the outcome of it? Why do you want that? And why beyond or underneath? What's the foundation of that beyond just the dollar? Because as far as money is concerned, if you've got $1 billion or 500, your self worth isn't attached to the money, but it is in the reverse way. If your self worth, if your income is limited, you've limited yourself because you don't think you're worth it somewhere down in that pile. And I've had to confront that really, really deeply.
Mm. With yourself or with your clients or both?
Well, yes, both.
Yeah, that's an interesting conversation. Um, so normally at the end of these episodes, I ask for a powerful question that you give to the listeners to ask themselves. I'm just going to go ahead and assume that is that the powerful question you want people to ask themselves?
I want you to know you're stuck. If you're stuck, if you're growing like mad, perfect. If you're not growing like mad, why have you limited yourself? What in your whole situation is a reflection of who you are? What
Mm,
impact do you have that you're unconscious of? So wake up, learn how to be aware, and evolve and grow. If you want to be a billionaire, ask why, and then what are you going to do? I have one client that he's in billionaire training right now. He's not there yet, but it's not if.
yeah, that's incredible. I love that. And I'm curious too. I mean, we've talked about the individual, the leader of the business this whole time. There's so much more that goes into running a business and scaling it to that level, especially. Do you do this similar process with everything involved in the business, just questioning everything, why it is and what's keeping it there?
Um, yeah, yes, to answer your question. And I've spent a lot of time and energy learning intuition and what it takes to do that. Part of that is rewiring the brain so that when I listen to someone, I know faster than they do what the answer is.
Hmm,
And my job is then to bring the things I hear in them and see in them that they're not saying to them in a verbal way so that they can understand from outside themselves and inside themselves what's not working.
that's very interesting. Wow. So it really is. It's all out there for everybody else to see. We just have to find it within ourselves. And that's what someone like you does.
So the challenge I'm going to give everybody is what's it going to take to add two zeros to your life? And do you already meditate? Because
Mm.
meditation is the practice of self awareness.
Brad's dropping a lot of powerful questions on us today. I love this. We got a bonus episode, at least 3 questions. Brad, this was fantastic. I know we already mentioned your website. Is there anywhere else the listeners can reach out, learn more about you?
That's perfect. Go there. LinkedIn,
Love
I'm
it.
there too. So
Perfect. We'll link all of that down in the show notes below, wherever you're watching or listening. Brad, I can't thank you enough for being here today. This was a great episode.
thank you. Quite fun.
For those of you watching and listening, wherever you are, your resources down below, you know where to get them, but also subscribe if you're not already. We love having you here. We love putting these episodes out every single day of the week to help you grow your business, shake your mindset up a little bit, hopefully help you get to that next level and build a more harmonious, business and life. We'll see you on tomorrow's episode of Harmonious at Lunch. Thanks for being here.